So here we have our hot plate set up with a 150 ml beaker, a stir rod, a temperature probe that's connected to Logger Pro here on the computer, and it's set to the temperature reading. And so what we're going to do is use this setup to begin part B of the procedure, which is to determine the boiling point of water, just water by itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my roughly 50 mils of water that I have here already pre-measured out in this graduated cylinder, and I'm going to add it to the beaker, and I'm going to make sure that the temperature probe is touching the water without touching the side of the beaker. And then I'm going to cover it here with another piece of aluminum paper to make sure none of the gas escapes there. It's roughly covered, and I'm going to turn on the heat pretty high here on the hot plate to get this to heat up as quickly as possible. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait until this temperature reading hits somewhere around 80 degrees C before I start collecting data. So now that this has hit roughly 80 degrees C, I'm going to start collecting data, and it will collect for about 4 minutes before it automatically shuts off. And so now we're going to start step C of the procedure, where we're going to find the boiling point of a solution now that we add some sodium nitrate to it. So here I have my calculated amount of sodium nitrate for a 1.2 molal solution. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this to my 150 beaker with the stir rod in it already. And I'm going to add my roughly 50 milliliters of water. And like before, I'm going to insert the temperature probe, making sure that it's not touching the walls of the beaker. I'm going to cover it again with aluminum foil. And I have the temperature turned up pretty high on this thing, so that way once this reading gets up to 80 degrees C, I will start collecting data just like before. Okay, and now we're going to repeat the procedure again with sodium nitrate, except this time we're going to do double the amount as last time and the same amount of water to see what happens. So we're going to add sodium nitrate, add our roughly 50 milliliters of water. Again, turning the heat up on this, adding our temperature probe, and again covering with aluminum foil. And begin collecting data at around 80 degrees C. Okay, so now we're going to do part D of the lab, where we do the same thing as we did in part C, except with an unknown salt here. I am doing unknown number 1 out of my 3 salts that I have predetermined for you. This one has a predetermined mass already to create the appropriate size molal solution. So we're going to go ahead and add this to our beaker, and then add our 50 mils of water. Again, as before, temperature probe comes in, aluminum foil cap goes on, crank up the heat, and start collecting data at 80 degrees C.